and hi everybody. Today's live stream we are going to attempt to remedy a mistake that I made a few years ago actually. This is my instrument cluster for my 924 that's over there in a corner of the workshop. And as you can see, I did all the fascias already. I sort of prepared myself gauges out of that one because they were in better shape. Like you can see here, there's missing a piece, and here. So I took both and did what I can best, put one good set from both of them. However, I made a mistake. You see, I didn't check which connectors are on the back of those gauges, and as far as the ref counter goes, it's pretty simple. You have your plus 12, which is your ignition cable that's controlled by your ignition, your 1, and your minus. The minus is obviously the ground, and 1 is the signal from the distributor, which tells the ref counter how fast the engine is spinning. And that's fine on this. It's even simpler on the speedo because you have only the ground, 2 bulbs to eliminate it, and the mechanical input from the front wheel, and that's all good and dandy. However, then we come to the third gauge, which normally sits on the left side. You would notice that I moved the ref counter in the middle because I just think it looks better like that. And when we come to this gauge, it has its difference between the older and the newer models. This is a newer model gauge, and if you look on the back, you can see there's a 12-pin plug right there. You can just put it in one orientation to avoid shortcuts or silly signals. And this is what I have on my car because that's the original gauge. But as you can see, it's in a pretty rough shape. It misses the nipple here, sorry, giggity. And there's a bit of cloudiness right there. It's not dirt, I cleaned it already a bit. It's oxygen, so I used some polishing compound and tried if it's deep. It's not deep, so I think we can rescue this. If not, we have those two to attempt other methods, or in the worst case scenario, I just take apart the one that I already made. So what's the difference? Well, this is my cluster that I made for my car. As you can see, ref counter, and I really like this design, and ref counter is in the middle. However, on this one, if you note, on the right side, there's a strange wheel with like blocks on each side, and that's the control, how do you say, it's a lamp, and it's a control lamp for your parking brake. So if that's illuminated, then your parking brake is off. However, as you can see on the screws there, they're not black, they're oxidized, which does not happen on the other gauges. Well, again, that's because that's not my gauge. That's a way older gauge. It's actually I think from 76 or 78. So the mix-up in German, it's pronounced differently. And if you turn this back upside down, firstly you can see I am an idiot because it was stored incorrectly in the boot of the car. It was sort of like down with like this. It was like covered and protected, but the moisture finds its way and found its way here, and it collected on the bottom quite a lot of it actually. And first thing is, those are rusty, but the second is, obviously you can see the differences in the plug. And it's not really an issue to use these plugs instead of that plug. Sorry, let me close the garage door quickly. Okay, so like I said, it's not really a problem to use this type of gauge on a newer car because I also have the corresponding plugs and the wiring loom and the donor car, so that's not the issue here. The issue is, firstly, I don't want to change the electrical system of the car and like I don't want to make it for future me a complicated thing, because if future me goes in there and forgets about this modification, then I will try to replace this one with the other one, or you know, I needed to stay close to original, because as you can see in other videos, or if as I will show you later, this car is has very much modifications that should improve its looks and or its its performance. But like I said, firstly, this one has those corroded screws in there, and secondly, I kind of like the design of this one more. I don't know what it is. I think it's a bit more refined on the edges. Like this is stamped steel, and it's stamped obviously with a very sharp stamp, but it lacks this finishing edge like this one has. And I just want it to be as original as it can be in this case for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to open this one. Okay, enough storytelling. Let's focus on the main issue here. So we have opened this up, and at first, if you see, you have screws over here, flathead screws, 1, 2, and 3, and it seems obvious to try to remove the screws and see if this mechanism goes right. Well, it seems obvious, but it's not. As you can see here, there are 2 further screws, Phillips screws, and I was also attempted to remove those. Actually, I did remove those, and there are also these 2 nuts here on these 2 small M3, I suppose, shafts. But removing either of those screws will get you deep enough to control what we want to control, because now that we've established that we want to use this gauge, we start to check it and we see there's a lot of corrosion on these bulbs. I wouldn't be concerned about the corrosion on those bulbs because they're replaceable, of course, but if there's corrosion on them and they were inside of these gauge clusters, there's probably also corrosion inside. That means, in the best case scenario, annoying gobblings, electrical gobblings. In the worst case scenario, not working alternator, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the alternator on 924 is excited via this bulb. So if this bulb doesn't have proper contact, you can end up without charging. I have to verify that information, but I'm pretty sure it's the case here. So what we have to do is we have to get from this side and remove those visible screws. How we get inside? Well, it's not an easy entry, because this ring is actually press fitted in a way that's folded. So the edge here normally, when it comes out of the press, is straight, but then I take the glass, take this edge, put it in some kind of how you call it, not a device but a tool, specialty tool, and they roll the edge inside. At least that's what I've been told. That's what I've been told by my mentor. With mentor I mean a guy in Breslau in Poland. I will make a plug for him because I just think he's a great guy. I haven't been in touch with him lately. Just let me go. Let me see his. Done. I can't seem to find his contact info. But my mentor, let's call it that at the moment, my mentor showed me how to get in those, and that's what I want to show you today. We will be using just few basic tools. Let me get that out of the way. we need flat screwdrivers. I have 3 of them for different purposes, and a number 7 Maulschlüssel auf Deutsch, or in yeah, in English it's wrench. Okay, let's try to center this here nicely. Okay, so the way we're going to approach this is we have this specialty tool, which I took the worst screwdriver that I have in my workshop and just bend it and tried to sharpen it in a way to make a little lifting edge on it, like you can see right now. So what you have to do, you have to start to pry the slip here. Easier said than done because it's pretty closely pressed, as you can see here, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. And you may think, well, that's a barbarian way to disassemble something, but remember, they weren't really built to be serviced in any way. That's like a radio, or maybe that's that's not correctly put, but those weren't supposed to be opened. So yeah, that's the way. And I'm making it the same way he showed me, he taught me, and that's the way he uses to open them. He has a different technique to close them afterwards, but we'll speak about that when we come to this. Put differently, we are gonna cross this bridge when we get there. But as you can see, I've already started here with prying this metal. And the key here is to take your time and rotate it continuously. Make one full pass and then another one, and then maybe the third one think about opening it, depending on the material you are working with. Because those come in chromed metal, in pressed metal, and I believe it's just normal paint, or maybe it's powder coated, I don't know. And they also come in brass. Brass is obviously much softer and much easier to disassemble, but also much easier to deform. So that's not always a plus. I have a relatively soft working top, especially for this. So let me put some music on, and yeah, just enjoy watching me disassemble this thing, and then I come to you in back in a few minutes. Okay, let's do it. Oops. This is gonna take a while. So that wasn't easy, but it took less time than I expected. So that's the first pass. As you can see, I tried different methods, and I will continue to do so using a different screwdriver. What a surprise! I'm gonna see how it goes and if it doesn't deform too much, but I think we're actually really close to opening this guy, so I will make another pass, so I won't try to force it off, but I have a uniformly opened pass everywhere on the parameter, but it looks promising at the moment. By the way, I'm listening to the new Gorillaz album. They just released one. And I've heard it's not great. What do you guys think? I think I will have to spend some time with it. It's hard to tell at the moment, but I mean, you can't really go wrong with Gorillaz, can you? I mean, I think. Okay, I'm rushing here because my arms are tired. Because it's awkward movement. And I'm looking for alternative ways to work here. It's not 100% method. It's not said that you will succeed because the metal you're working with is 40 years old or 50 years old. It's extremely pliable, but also extremely old and sometimes oxidated. So if you want to do this the first time, you probably should make some experience with some cheap gauges. The 924s one, I don't think they're really that cheap because they're popular in buggies and bugs and other VW like LTs, or I saw them in a Golf 1 instead of the original Tittentacho. So TD, what it's called? I don't know. Does it translate in German? Tittentacho? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so we're pretty wide here, but I don't think we're there yet. I mean, you can see movement. So yeah, let's crack on and try to open it a little bit more, or maybe it will just pop off on its own. You know what? That's actually a very good method. Just take the flat screwdriver and you work with its whole flatness here, so you're not making so many bumps in this metal here, because the bumps can or will become a problem later on. Okay. Like I said, it was about 3 trips around with flat screwdrivers, different kinds, from the smallest to the biggest, and now we can pry this open. And there we have it. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible. I would avoid painting that because it's very exposed. Yeah. I sort of, because I didn't open those before, that's my first time, and I sort of expected to be some sort of gasket here, but there isn't any. What we can see is rust and pitting, and so we're going to address this. But first, let's address this. I want to show you. I won't do the whole thing, or maybe I will. Let's take a bit of polishing compound. Let's pick a spot like this one, just beside that one that I already did. And so that's the spot. That's the dirty part that was there. So. As you can see, it's quite a bit of work, so let's get to it. Or let's see how it goes. Because I don't want to spend the whole evening here and bore you with unimportant details. I will try to do it as fast as possible, but I won't compromise my car too much. But normally I'm a perfectionist and I do things over well, is that a word? I do things with more care that they deserve, and that can be a problem sometimes. I always thought it's a bonus from life more than it's a struggle or it's a hustle. I like it and it brings me joy, but it doesn't always work in a commercial environment, sadly. No one wants to pay, 10 times more for a job, even if it's made like 5 times better, when both of those jobs will ensure the basic thing that the system should do. So I mean, no one will pay 5 times extra for a brake job because you have all new rotors and everything is triple checked and sealed and over engineered and overthought, because you can pay just a normal brake job and it will do the job. Your car will brake better or brake, but there's just not as many people as that are into this kind of detail, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. By the way, there's a chat there. I'm not always looking inside, but I will from time to time, so feel free to ask me anything if you want. Oh, and this is actually looking pretty shiny already. You know what? That's not bad. That's not bad at all. You know what? That took surprisingly less time than I expected, and it looks fantastic. I mean, I'm so glad I did it this way, because the way I did the other gauges, I just left them like this. I would clean them, of course, and I would polish the glass right up to the edge very deeply, and after that I would apply masking tape and with a scalpel remove the masking tape from the steel, and then I would clean the steel, prime it, and then paint, and it would have a nice crisp edge. But like the deeper you go in this edge, the more imperfections you can see. I know it's like half a meter away from your nose, but when you're working with it, it's bugging me. Yeah. So the another thing is we have to put this nipple in here. But I'm not gonna wait with this because it's quite cold in the workshop today, and I don't want to risk this this precious plastic piece breaking because it's too cold. So I leave that as a final touch when reassembling this. So not right now. Yeah, so I would say the glass is ready, or maybe I give it one final polish with a bit finer compound to bring all the shyness. Oh my god, it looks terrible. Sorry, I was not aware of that. Okay, I found my compound. Sorry, but I'm here now. Okay, that's ready. That's approximately how it looked like. That's how it's looking right now. It needs a bit of cleaning before I put it for the final assembly, but it's pretty nice. So let's go to our next contender, which is the ring. Um, I'm going to attempt to remove this paint firstly with the paint remover, because it's way more effective this way, and this is pretty thin, so the more you rub on it with the what do you call sandpaper, it's getting thinner, and the edges are getting rounder than they should, so it's better to do it with chemicals. But first, let's etch the surface. Let's clean grease and dirt from it, because then the paint remover works faster and better. After the paint remover is done, we can see how much rust we have, and how much rust we have to, remove from the object. Okay. Now let's take a rag with some brake clean and give it a wipe. Now let me find a suitable place to spray this. So I would preferably spray this inside of some plastic, and then wrap it in this plastic. So like this. I'm gonna spray it. Where is my paint remover? That's my paint remover. Just bought on eBay. I don't know. I have no association with this brand, but it's pretty handy to have it in this form. Like, you don't have to brush it and stuff. I won't do it here because it's obviously of the camera setup and so on. So give me a sec and I will do it on the side. So I managed to spray it on the side and didn't get anything on my fingers. So let's put that aside to cook for a bit. And let's go to the next item on the list, which is corrosion. So now we getting deep into this. I'm not really convinced about this screwdriver, because I have the proper tools at home, because I was doing some micro mechanics at home, and I don't really sure how it will handle this very nicely machined screws, but well, let's see. There's one. And there's two. And there we go. That is in nice condition, except the paint where those screws were, but not going to do anything about it. So here we have the whole assembly. And does it move? Yep. And here? Yep. It also moves. But I see a problem. Mainly the problem I'm seeing is, in order to remove this housing, I have to remove those because they're in the way. A problem that I didn't anticipate it having is these are press fit on, and I'm not really sure if I will be able to take them down and put them back. Well, I think I have to see. Okay, what else can we remove from here? This seems to be stuck. How do I approach this and not fuck this up? I have this plastic prying tool. I'm considering using it to make something to put inside there and use it as a lever from underneath instead. Ah, shit. There you go. Did I save you? Did I save you? Oh, yes. I think I managed to save you. I mean the stream. Will it work like this? Yes, it will. Boy, oh boy, am I an incompetent streamer or what? Okay, where's my viewing angle? Ah, shit. So that's the middle. Okay. All right. Where were we? I almost lost you there. Okay, I was planning on planning to make a wedge to take this and put it inside and remove the dial. And I think that's what I should do. I'm just considering the method of how to do this. Should I cut it? Should I carve it? Should I use the laser engraver? It's a joke. It's not running at the moment. Or maybe it is, I don't know. Yep. Okay, I think I have another one. Let me leave you alone with this for a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I have a second one. There's some people over here. How are you guys? Okay, there's nothing on the chat, so we're just watching. Okay, so let me trim this a little bit. Oh, fucked it up. Okay, well, they are clean and they are sharp as they get. That seems not to be working. Okay, so after a bit of consideration, I am not going to remove those. It seems to be necessary to remove this, but let me try to remove this plastic piece first and see if there's a way that I didn't think about. Because there may be, and even if not, we're actually concerned after what's under this plastic, because you see those bulbs that we were talking about earlier are under there. So this plastic is loosened with loosening these two screws. So let's see what it will bring us. And there we go. That's the plastic part. And wouldn't you know it, there was no freaking reason to panic, because I don't see anything wrong with contacts. However, I think I can take it apart now, like, except for those two gauges, the temperature and the whatever that was. I think I can remove it from this white enclosure. Maybe like this. There we go. It's not in a bad condition, but it's not in a great condition either. We may be repainting this as well, because I do have some Alpine Noise paint, and I have some other white paints as well. So what we can see here is the gasket. Under there is a plate that separates the gasket from the contacts, because there is a possibility that this will store moisture and then it will lie on the contacts and cause all sorts of different issues. And then we have the Platine auf Deutsch, and in German it's the circuit board. It's under there. And although we don't have full access, we do have enough access to see there's nothing wrong with those points. Maybe a little bit of attention, but nothing tragic. And whilst inspecting this motherboard further, I can't really see any corrosion damage or mechanical damage or anything like that. So I'm just gonna remove this last bulb, clean those contacts, and yeah, think about painting some stuff so it can dry overnight and I can reassemble it tomorrow. Yeah, that's a good plan. So how are we going to approach this? I won't be cleaning the insides mechanically, so I don't get too much dust on the fascias here. I think you can see me, yes. I'm going to use contact spray. So this gasket did a great job of keeping the moisture out, although it was installed incorrectly, probably in factory. So we're going to use some super glue so it actually goes on the right position. Come on, don't be shy, it's not that cold. All right. So I would like to reassemble that, but I can't really until I paint some stuff. So like I said, this part, it doesn't really need to be painted because I mean, it just reflects light. It is a bit dirty, so maybe it should be. But I am going to paint it anyway because I have to have it apart, and I wouldn't let myself live with the thought that I was there and I didn't make it a bit better. Because let's face it, you won't ever see the difference if it's wider than it is now, if it's more reflective than it is now. So, but that's an easy job. We just take some Scotch-Brite to it and then a few coats of white paint, and then we wait until it's dry. What's more interesting is this. What do we have here? Sorry for the crumply stuff, but I always reuse my shop towels. So I use them to dry my hands and then to work on stuff after that. Does it stink? It stinks very much. Okay, let's see here. At times it's pretty good, at times it's not so good, but most of it is removed. There's still a bit left on it. We can place this. I don't know, let's see how it reacts to some Scotch-Brite, and then we go from there. You might be tempted to use a wire wheel to this. Let me tell you why this is a terrible idea. Let's go back to 2000 and, well, I would say 15, when I was working at Volkswagen Classic Breslau. And I had an accident. And I was a freshman there. I was pretty fresh there. It was one of my, well, maybe not first projects, but I wasn't that long there. I got a 911 headlamp ring, which, as far as the manufacturing process, is pretty similar to this. It's just a stamped, very thin piece of metal. However, because they're so exposed to the element, they rust a lot, so part of every restoration is to get them in decent shape before you paint them. I started to do that with some sandpaper and an oscillating sander, but it wasn't a very effective process, so I thought of doing that on a wire wheel, a stationary wire wheel. We had this old machine, which my ex-coordinator bought for us, for the team at Classic, because he was under the impression that, I mean, not falsely, that all old machinery is just better built and better after all. And admittedly, it was cheaper to buy this old one and to refurbish it, but I digress. So imagine me taking this metal ring, which is about yay big, into this spinning wheel of death, which is this big spinning wire wheel, and it has wires this long. The machine had 2,500 watts in it, and it had a massive spinning assembly, which had a grindstone on one end and a wire wheel on the other, and it was extremely heavy, so it took a while to get up to speed. When I started to wire wheel this ring, at first it was okay, because I was just wiring, touching the metal with the wires like this. So as long as they could slide off after impacting the metal, it was all okay. But then I got cocky and I wanted to clean like the inside edge. And then that's where I fucked up, because as soon as those hairs started to grab here on the edge, they wanted to pull this inside. And in a matter of milliseconds, this whole ring, as I was holding it like this, was sucked out of my fingers in the machine, almost amputating this finger, breaking this one because it spun around the machine and hit me with in the hands where they were pretty close. So it broke this one, almost amputated this one, and other 5 got hit. So I've had 7 severely hurt fingers, one of them almost amputated and one of them broken. And somehow, some way, I have my fingers now and they all work properly. Well, there's a scar like this and this part feels funny, But when I go back to the images, how my hands looked, I didn't think I would be could be making things like this with my hands. Never, ever. So yeah, don't be stupid. And I mean, I could anticipated that if I like stopped and think about it, but then again I didn't. So stay safe, and whatever you do, don't use don't use handcuffs. No, what is these called? Gloves? Yeah, gloves, working gloves. Don't use working gloves around rotating machinery, like drill press, like Drehbank auf Deutsch, and then in English is lathe. Shit, sorry, it's a lathe. So around lathes and bench. Boring machines. Jesus, sorry, brain fart. Anyway, because if you were the fast moving object, either you spinning something or the blade is spinning, it can grab on the material of your glove, and if you're lucky it just rips a piece out, but most of the time you're not lucky and it pulls your hand inside, and then it's just like your hand is inside this material and it's got squished, and it's not funny. It's not fun. Been there also, but with handheld tools. So less drama, but it's still not nice. So yeah, this thing is turning out nicely. We still have the inner edge to do, just a more complicated one. We're not going to for perfection here, because we are going to paint it, but what we are going for is a smooth surface, because it will be a thin layer of paint, so it will be visible if there's like deep scratches, which is probably what I'm doing right now. I think I will use a little bit more of this paint remover. Where do I have this? Okay, while that's cooking, let's prepare this for paint. So we just take some gray Scotch-Brite. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's apply some masking tape, because we are not barbarians here. Okay, let's look for some paint. What do we have here? Gray, traffic white. That's perfect. Like the second one I have. It's almost new. How awesome is that? Apparently it's also very cold. Let me warm that up. Let me warm this up a bit. Right there. I'll be right back with you guys. Alright, that's better. There we are. I will open the gate for ventilation and then put a coat or two of white paint. degrease this a bit. Okay. This paint is very old. Let's see if it's worth anything. So this is ready. With this smartened up, we're going to leave it till tomorrow, and let's see if we can prepare this and paint this. So this little bit of the paint left here, but what we most have here is rust on this metal ring. So that's what we are trying to remove right now with this pretty worn Scotch-Brite, but it's deliberately so we don't take too much material at once. Just want to have it relatively flat for painting. As it will be painted from both sides and it will only live inside the car, we don't have to worry much about the corrosion. I mean, it's obviously here, but both the cars were neglected before I got them, so you know, standing in a field or with an open window for a few years makes stuff to metal, obviously. If it was different, I probably wouldn't have a job. I mean, I would have some sort of a job, but not though this one. I quite like this one. I'm sorry, my mistake. There is a seal here. Of course there is. You sneaky bastards. I didn't see that at all. How did you do that? Jesus. Okay. We're actually almost ready to paint this. However, we can't paint it at the moment because when we're going to put it on the gauge, we will have to bend it back, and that will ruin our paint. So actually what we're going to do is going to leave it like this. One thing I might try is to take a black paint marker and paint the inside edge here so it doesn't catch rust, but then leave this exposed, because after we're going to put this together and we're going to clamp it back, I'm going to go around it with Scotch-Brite one more time, fix any imperfections I see, and then I'm going to take masking tape, mask it off, and paint it black so it's a nice even surface, even coat here. But we can't do that because this is drying. Okay, that's disgustingly dirty. Yeah, we can't put that together back together because this is drying, so I'm going to take a break. Gonna wait an hour or two, and then I'm going to come back and put it all together. So see you then. Bye.